Hello, art lovers. Thank you for tuning in once again. In this lesson, we were talking about brush with charcoal. As one of the subscriber, Dion Draws, he left me a message asking for some demonstration how the brush will work with charcoal. So here we go. Here I have a synthetic brush. The hair is nice and smooth and soft, but has somewhat kind of a bouncy string to it. So this is what I would use for these demonstrations. And also, usually I don't use sable brush because a sable brush would be a little bit too hard. Synthetic brush would be a little bit more ideal at this point. I will draw a same subject with two different approach. One which is only use my hand. The other one use the brush and the other tools combined. So you can see the difference. But first, we are going to do two value scales. One with finger smudging on top, render on top, and the other one with brush and the other tool combined. So on the left, I'm going to do like this and do another one. So pretty much that's the same thing that we have. And then at the end, I'm going to draw with compressed charcoal. Both of them. I'm going to draw a little bit more. This one, I'm going to use my finger to get the texture to a value scale and press in with a compress. I'm going to add a little more tone to make the transitions go a little bit better. Okay, the value scale looks okay at this point. I'm going to do a little bit better actually. The one on the right, I'm going to use a brush to show you the differences, how it might look like softly. You fan it softly, just like that. And if you have some charcoal on top, you can use an eraser, or you can have something, you can even have a finger with that to take some extra charcoal out of your brush. You can do it again. So the brush gives you a nice smooth texture on top without making your hand dirty. Let's see how it look like in the dark area with the compressed charcoal. So as you can see, the brush and the stump and also the chamois, they do pretty much a similar thing. It took out some of the charcoal in the dark area. So as you can see in the dark area with the finger, it's really dark. It's evenly composed on top of the paper, but on here, as you can see, there are some gaps and some texture on top of the paper, which is I still prefer the finger for the darkest area to make an even tone. If you really want to make that area really, really dark, as you can see the difference right here. Of course, here I can use my eraser, take out some of the extra tone, and then I can use my brush to do a nice gradation like that. And also we need a little bit darker tone. So I'm going to come back and add a little more yellow on top. Oh, I use my hand once again. Habit. Because I always use my hand. That's the most reliable tool I have, always carry with me. So as you can see, the brush gives you a nice even tone with the yellow, but not with the compressed charcoal. So okay, as you can see now, we have two set of value scale. They can produce a similar result, give and take. The finger is better in the dark area, and the brush is better on the mid-tone area, as you can see. So let's draw two spheres, just like that. As I always say, I don't need to draw a perfect circle at one time. Just like that. And then a shadow. Let's draw the same thing twice. So I'm going to quickly map in my drawing. Just like what I have introduced in the other video, how to draw a sphere. So you can also check out the other video. Just quickly mask in the cast shadow and core shadow, mapping things in. Okay, let me clean up a little and finalize a little bit more with the drawing. Okay. Just like that. So the one on the left, I would only use my fingers to do the shading and the rendering. As I said, there will be two different approaches. So the one on the right, I will be using tools, combination of tools, such as brush. Maybe I'm going to use stump and chamois. So let's see how it looks like. So I make everything flat. And this one, I'm going to use the brush. Even at this stage, you can see 11 differences between the one use brush and the one use finger. as I pointed out earlier, it seems the finger is doing a good job at the darker tone area. As you can see, now the tone is quite evenly composed on this one. Let me clean up a little. It's not really too round, but it's okay. So on the one on the right, I use a brush, and as you can see, there are some texture on top of the surface, which is not as evenly contribute as the hand would do. So, once again, I use my finger to do the job again. I have to keep reminding myself, use brush for this tutorial. So here we go. Same approach, but with different tool, finger versus brush. Now I'm going to do some indication for the core shadow on both spheres. Just like that. Add a little bit more on the other side. I'm going to quickly indicate on this one, and then the on the other one. So I'm not trying to draw the best sphere I can draw with the medium, but try to come up with the idea and clarify the idea between brush and hand. Brush combining with other tools with the same approach to see how they might look like. Some of the subscriber also mentioned about asking to see if I would like to do a tutorial or demo how to sharpen my pencils. I might consider doing one if more people would like to see it. So it might be beneficial for the people who would like to find a little bit more details on the way that I would approach. If you guys are interested, you guys can leave comments below and let me know if there are enough people who would like to see it, and I can make a video just for that. So let me know. As I said, I'm not trying to draw the most prettiest sphere. I quickly get to the point. Okay, I'm going to come back on this one. Give it more toning on top. Spread out a little more. I'm going to add a little bit tone on the other side. Just to give a little more transition to it. use my hand. Just push things in. And push a little bit over to get a mid-tone, to get a range of mid-tone, just like that. I'll try to see what I can do. The smoothest I can use on my hand. Just keep pushing. Some time ago, when I was drawing on a really sandy surface on the paper, on some of those pastel paper with sandy surface, and end up my fingerprint almost disappeared. So that is the side effect when you use your hand to do the drawing. So I'm gonna darken up on the core shadow a little bit more to give it a little bit better transitions. And also allow myself to increase the value of the core shadow, make the shape to be stronger. So as I said, I'm not trying to draw the most prettiest sphere, but I'm trying to do quickly and get to the point. Sometimes if I really want the value to stay onto the page, one finger might not be enough. So as you can see, I use my middle finger right here and use my poindex finger, press down onto my middle finger, and then my middle finger also use pressure at the same time. So that way will be stronger pressure on top of the paper. So just a trick I would like to share with you guys. So it's just like that, okay? Not just one like that, but press in, reinforcement. So let's go on with the brush. See how it will look like. As you can see, the brush actually taken out the charcoal once again. The compressed charcoal I apply on top with the pencil, it disappeared. Not all, but it's got about taken out some. These two different techniques have different appearance, as you can see. The reason why this gets so dark because I press on top of the surface, lock the charcoal onto the surface on the paper. And this one right here, the brush cannot push the charcoal onto the paper and stick onto the paper, but rather just brush off the extra. So the extra did not stay on top of the page, but only certain amount of the charcoal have remained. That's why you can see the texture here and the texture right here is totally different. I'm going to combine with the chamois on my mid-tone side. So just give it a little mid-tone quickly. So this is what the chamois can help you to come in and really quickly put in some tone. And the extra, I can just use my eraser and pick it up just like that. So, or I flatten up a little and dab it. Not erase, but dab. Only dab out the certain area that require erase. So I need to come back in here, do it one more time. Since the charcoal been brushed off, now I need to reapply on top. And I try to see if I can use the stump to help. So I'm using the stump to press in a little to help the charcoal to remain onto the page. As I go on to the right side, lightly touch on top. This would be a technique for those people who don't want to have their finger, their hand to be dirty. This might be something that you can consider, to have all these tools with you. Okay, so now I have created a better gradation with the tool, and let's make it onto the other side, just like that. And try to use a brush to make it even more even. Okay, brush on top, make it evenly. And go into the core shadow to push the core shadow outward and inside. As you can see, actually I spend less time using my hand than using all these tools to do. But as I said, if you prefer your hand clean, this is something that you might consider. Okay, so that's that. Maybe I can do a little more onto the reflected light area. Next, I will go ahead and finish off with the cast shadow. Okay, now I'm going to flatten the dark area. On this side, I'm going to use a brush, or I'm going to use the stump. As we already tested out, the brush cannot really do too much of a work into the dark area. So let's use a stump instead. Even the stump is not as good as the finger can produce from my personal experience. So maybe you can continuously do another layer on top to make the dark area to fill in even darker. So as you can see, the finger, which is only have to do it once. Now I'll probably have to do it twice to get the darkness, to make sure the gap is filled in. So it will allow me to get some richer of the dark tone. So the process needs to be repeat instead of just doing one time with the hand. As I said, some people like this process with tools. So hopefully what I'm showing you is beneficial. Okay, so let's clean up the shadow a little. And okay, soften up the edge. So as you can see, the differences between these two, or at this point, I might be able to come back and increase the core shadow even stronger onto the sphere with the tools. Now this time, I'm just going to draw on top without smearing or use any tool on top. So the pressure is really important. If you go for too dark at once, that means you cannot leave the pencil untouched. You probably have to go in with the stump or the brush to get some of the texture off before going forward. So every single time you make a mark on top, consider the pressure. You want to build more layers on top instead of just one time. This is also a technique that I usually teach for cross hatching. Building up multiple layers instead of trying to just finish quickly. It will give you a richer looking object because there's much more build up underneath. So it's all in the pressure. I'm not trying to show you which one is better. I'm only going to show you the techniques, what you can do with it, and maybe pro and cons, which one that you want to use, and it's up to you. Or maybe you can combine both, using the finger on the shadow area, and then you can use your tools on the light mid-tone area. So you can do combination of both if you want to. There's no restriction which one is better than which one. The purpose of this video just to show you what can the tool and also the hand can be done individually. At this point, I think the best result probably would be combining both, as I suggested earlier. Okay, now I'm going to do the highlight on top. Pick out a little bit highlight. Same process. The result might be a little bit different. So I'm going to use my wallow to clean things up. Oops. Let's do it again. There we go. That's better. Clean up a little. Okay, so let's finalize a little bit more. Once again, I'm not trying to do the most perfect or the most prettiest sphere that you have ever seen, but still, I'm trying to adjusting the roundness of it. Okay, it doesn't really look too round, but the idea is across. So I'm going to do a better job on this one. Let's finalize it. So this is the result of the two different approach, the result of it. And let me clean up a little bit more at the end to insert the appearance of the subject is a little more clean. So this would be the result with two different approach. As you can see, the one on the left and the right. The one on the left, I would say the transitions is a little bit smoother. Of course, if you want to spend more time on this one can also appear similar to that. And now the benefit of the brush, which is a lot more cleaner on the light side, is more evenly contributed, and the dark side is stronger and darker, richer with the finger. So as I said, if you want to have a good result, maybe you can use the brush and the other tool on the light side, and then the dark side you can use a hand or you can use the other tool, whichever that you prefer. Thank you for watching. If this video is helpful to you, please click like, subscribe, and share with your friends. See you next time.